Hello and welcome back to the Education on Fire live podcast. Great to be with you in person. As always, if you have a question, if you have any comments, please do just put them in the chat. We can bring them up and we can have this sort of live in-person reaction in real time, which is always fantastic about having these live opportunities. Thank you for showing up. Thank you very much for everyone who's been getting in touch with the previous podcast. I really do appreciate it. But today we're going to be talking all about the network for teaching entrepreneurship. You know, here on Education on Fire, it's all about having the child and people that are young people that are learning at the center of what it is that we're trying to do, despite whatever the current education system happens to be or whatever the local policies are. We want to give children and young people the best chance in life to be able to do that. So just so that you've had a chance to see the website, to see exactly what's going on, if you go to NFTE.com, that gives you everything that you need to know. And you can see there's lots of great information. There's lots of things coming up as well. And there's lots of also blogs and articles and things which you can do. And we're going to find out exactly how all this works and how it fits in to helping young people coming up very, very soon. So I'm delighted. I'm going to be joined by Dr. J.D. LaRock, and he's the president and CEO of the Network for Teaching for Entrepreneurship. And he's going to take us into exactly what it is he's going to be doing, a little bit of the history, and I guess how you can be involved and want to make the most of this opportunity. So thank you very much, and welcome to the show.
Mark, it's great to be with you. Thanks for the invitation.
This is going to be such a great conversation. So tell us, for those people who haven't come across the organization before, what's kind of the real sort of nitty-gritty idea of who you're helping and where that came from?
Well, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, also affectionately known as NFTE, was founded nearly 40 years ago by a school teacher in the Bronx, New York. And our mission has always been to bring the power of entrepreneurship education to young people in underserved communities. Over the years, we have educated more than 1.25 million young people. This year, we will educate about 65,000 young people in 30 states across the US and 35 countries, including the UK. And really, wherever in the world we appear, the mission is the same: to bring the power of entrepreneurship, which we believe is a powerful concept, but also a powerful learning model, to schools and to young people to make the most of their lives and for them to help discover who they really are.
So why don't we just touch on that in terms of how that delivery takes place, like say, whether it's in schools or whether you can do it sort of side by side, that curriculum. So does it look the same just depending on who's actually delivering the workshops, or how does it sort of work from that sort of practical sense?
There are many different ways that NFTE programs can be delivered. By and large, they are delivered as formal classes within a public school, a government school. And we train the educators to deliver a curriculum that we have developed. And that endeavor is supported by classroom volunteers who often come from the corporate world, and they come into classrooms personally or remotely to help young people with an aspect of their business plan. Might be the financial aspect or the marketing aspect, the customer aspect. But every NFTE class, no matter how it's delivered, results in a business plan competition and a business plan pitch. So whether a student takes part in a formal class over the course of a semester or a year, an after-school program, which is a thing that we do, or a summer camp, the end product is to go through a process of finding an idea that the student is really passionate about, really investigating whether it could be a viable business, and then turning that idea into a viable business plan and a compelling business pitch. Our programs, no matter what, culminate with competitions, which are a lot of fun. Students compete in Shark Tank style. That's the US reference. I know, yeah. Maybe you have it in the UK. But Shark Tank style competitions where students can win money for their ventures. And over the years, NFTE programs have produced thousands and thousands of actual entrepreneurs, from everyone from the leaders of big companies whose brand names one would know, to small business owners who are pillars of their community.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. The UK has Dragon's Den, which is the equivalent of Shark Tank, and I think many people will know about that, and sort of they get a real feeling, like say, for what entrepreneurship is, and I guess the struggle as well of kind of coming up with that idea and actually turning it into something which then has the chance to be successful or move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, one of the most fascinating things about my work is to understand the reasons why different types of people around the world are compelled to try entrepreneurship. Some people use it to discover who they really are and really to realize that a thing that they're passionate about, a hobby they have, or a way they spend their time, could actually be transformed in a way to make a living. Some of our students are motivated to solve a particular problem in their family or their community or in the country. We have many, many students in the US who are particularly concerned about climate change and often propose climate change related businesses. Another big theme that we see students naturally gravitate toward is people with disabilities and wanting to provide businesses and services that help people with disabilities. There's a very strong social entrepreneurship bent to many of our students. I often say that nifty businesses come in three big categories. One are traditional products and services, so like a food truck or a type of food item, or a clothing type of company, a fashion company. That's category one. Category two is what I just touched on, the social entrepreneurship category, and that's the biggest single category of nifty businesses that we see. And the third, which is really interesting in this age of rapidly accelerating artificial intelligence, are tech-based and AI-based businesses. We've seen this over the last 3 years in particular. Students are proposing businesses that utilize chatbots and other forms of AI as the basis for a business. And I think that we're going to see more and more of that as the years go on.
And that's fascinating, isn't it? Because there's a large part of the population who are kind of AI and scared about what that happens to be, and young people coming through just seeing it as a real opportunity in terms of creating a business. But I guess then, like you say, with those ideas of social, whether it's climate change, whether it happens to be helping people within your community as well, they're able to see those opportunities in a way that maybe like the slightly older generation would struggle with.
Quite right. And when ChatGPT first came on the scene about 3 years ago, around Thanksgiving in America, I said to my team, "Mark my words, when we have our spring competitions in about 5 or 6 months, we're going to see students propose businesses that utilize AI both to construct the actual business plan, but also as the basis of the business." And sure enough, we did, because young people quite naturally gravitate toward the latest technology. They are not only digital natives, but they're AI natives now in a very real sense. None of this is particularly foreign to them. They were born into a world where AI is deeply embedded into lots of things that they already do. And they see, I think quite correctly, that jobs and sectors and the nature of business and entrepreneurship itself will increasingly be shaped by AI. At Nifty, we've actually gone ahead and incorporated AI into some of what we do. So we have worked with a company called Tier 1 AI, which actually was founded by a former Nifty graduate. And yes, that's very cool. And he's helped us, his company has helped us develop two types of bespoke AI. One is a type of AI that students can use to ideate and really refine their initial business ideas. Because, of course, Chatbot is a really helpful repository of lots of information that can help students generate ideas. And then the other AI is a custom-built AI for teachers that does initial grading of business plans so that the teachers can spend their time really going deeper with the student and making those business plans more sophisticated. So at Nifty, we are very much on the AI bandwagon. I think we look at it as something that is just going to be a normal and increasing part of our world, so we may as well engage with it today.
Yeah, and I think the way you spoke about it there is beautiful, because it kind of felt like an obvious thing to do, because it's supporting people with more time. It's giving you a format that's going to make it easier for people moving forward. Not a kind of, the world's going to look very different. It's just the tools that we use in the way that we do it. No different than when the internet came, when computers were part of everything. We used to go to the library to find information. It just becomes part and parcel of where we are. I'm curious in terms of what you see from each person as they go through in relation to the school system and what you're able to do, because I think one of the things that people struggle with is that sort of the siloed subjects, now I'm just doing maths and now I'm just doing English or whatever it happens to be. So actually being an entrepreneur, and I guess having to wear all those hats in that project-based idea, is something that means that the skills that they already have, and certainly the skills they could then gain, like I say, becomes really important and really exciting, and a kind of a passion thing, because like I say, the subject matter and the ideas have actually come from each individual.
Yeah. What you just said, you said it so nicely. speaks to the magic that entrepreneurship education, I believe, contains. Uh, I'm not a critic of traditional learning. I myself, as a student, did very well in traditional, like kind of highly academic, highly theoretical learning. So that's not in and of itself bad. But we know that many young people, many families want for their children more of a type of applied learning, a learning that feels relevant. And I would say that entrepreneurship education winds up feeling very relevant for young people and seems relevant to their families because, again, from the standpoint of the student, the first question we ask is not what's your business, but who are you? What are you interested in? Uh, what do you think about? What are you passionate about? And then from there, we ask, okay, is that something that you could see being a business, or is it a business in some way, shape, or form? Is there a new business that could be added to it? From the standpoint of parents and from policymakers and just the place that something like entrepreneurship education has in the whole education system, we're living in this time where, at least in the US, many families are critiquing the way schooling is done today because they feel that it is not ultimately relevant. They don't see how the education is providing a pathway toward economic self-sufficiency or really meeting the needs of us as individuals in terms of how we make a life, not just how we make a living. And entrepreneurship education, because is all about practically starting a business, answers that question right off the bat. If you do our program correctly, not only will you be able to get a job, you're probably going to be making a job for yourself, and that is something that is something that the public is wanting more of from the education system. So we're trying to be in a position of letting people know about what we see as the benefits of entrepreneurship education and spreading our message really all around the world so we can make entrepreneurship education a more normal and regular part of what education has to offer.
And you sort of mentioned that global aspect of it. So you must see a real interesting mix once you start to get into different cultures and you start to get into different landscapes of what the education system is in a different part of the world, as well as how that then becomes part of the program. So if you've got any sort of stories or sort of ideas of how each individual country obviously sort of shows up in a different way.
Absolutely. So if I were to talk to our partner in Singapore, which is a wonderful organization called Halogen, they would say that a main reason that they pursue entrepreneurship education and work with us is because in Singapore, the social compact between people and the state is very strong. People are guaranteed a job, they are guaranteed housing. Therefore, the society is actually rather risk averse. Being an entrepreneur involves taking risks, taking a chance. And I think there is, to some degree, what I've been told, an ethic in the society that is risk averse. And so, a big and distinctive reason that this organization works with us in Singapore is to encourage people to take risks. That's one story. If you now go over to Saudi Arabia, where we do work, that is the reason why the kingdom is engaged in partnership with us and why we receive support from organizations like Saudi Aramco is because the society is undergoing a transformation. The kingdom is actively trying to transition from an oil revenue-based society into a more modern knowledge economy-based society. Students, young people, and adults really have never needed to get a broad-based education in entrepreneurship education. And so in that country, it's really about the larger project of societal transformation. In Ireland, where we work with a wonderful organization called Feroiga, that is embedded. The reason that they do the Nifty program is because they see entrepreneurship as a vehicle to promote leadership, to promote individual leadership qualities. And that's something that Feroiga in its broader work does in its clubhouses and its programs throughout the country of Ireland. And they've latched onto entrepreneurship as a way to articulate it. In the United States, it's very interesting because, of course, it's a society that really uplifts the idea of individual achievement and freedom. Entrepreneurship and free enterprise is a pillar value of the society. And from that perspective, it's always been a little bit odd to me that entrepreneurship isn't a standard thing in American classrooms today, but we're trying to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, does the program change at all in different parts of the world because of the culture difference, or like say, are the different cultures taking what they need from what's sort of already established?
Absolutely. So you see the change. So in our curriculum, we obviously have to do not only linguistic adaptations, but cultural adaptations. An example of an entrepreneur that may resonate in the US context may not resonate in the Indian context or the Palestinian context. So when we work with a country partner, we will really work deeply with them to make sure that there is cultural agility and cultural alignment with the particular country. Different countries also have some different values. And so something that we might express or emphasize in one country's curriculum might be a little bit different in another. But really, the pillars are the same. And no matter how you go about it specifically, you are walking a student through a process of identifying and developing a business idea, understanding who your customer is, understanding who your competitors might be, coming up with a basic financial plan, the economics of one unit, how you will price your item or your service and generate a margin to be able to invest in the growth of your business and to generate a profit. And then, of course, because of the presentation and communications aspects of what we do, the students are always spending a lot of time refining that pitch deck and refining that pitch that they verbally deliver. All of those things are pretty much the same, no matter what language they're delivered in, and no matter what modifications there may need to be because of the cultural or the economic context. And one of my great joys actually is to not only go around the world, but maybe join a late night Zoom. I recall very clearly we have a program in Hiroshima, Japan. And even though I don't understand Japanese, I could tell that the program was being delivered in a very faithful way because the types of things that you would see in an American presentation or pitch competition were coming across in the student Zoom presentation to me and my team, and that's a wonderful feeling.
And you sort of mentioned the Zoom aspect there. So we were chatting just before we went live about COVID, and you sort of came into the role just before that. So there must be some kind of difference in terms of, like, say, a Zoom presentation as opposed to an in-person presentation, and how the program adapts a little bit. So just talk us a little bit about sort of those differences.
Yes. Well, let me say to your viewers, don't become CEO of a place 5 months before a global pandemic hits because it throws you for a loop. But
Yeah,
luckily, we were very prepared. We were very prepared in many ways, in that our curriculum was already residing on an online platform. And so all the changes that all educators worldwide had to make to move education largely onto Zoom and other similar platforms, we were well poised to do that. We had to change two things, and we learned some things from the change. We had to dramatically change how we deliver teacher training, educator preparation to deliver our programs. That went all online, and that was a matter of consequence for us because key to the delivery of any educational program is the efficacy of the training and the depth of the training. And there is a real difference that you have to account for between bringing going to teachers or bringing them in and working with them over the course of a week in person, and then trying to do that in a matter of hours on a Zoom. So we had to think through that. The other thing that we had to think through, and this had beneficial, lasting effects, is the element of our program in which we engage volunteers and mentors, mostly from companies, to come into Nifty classrooms to support the educator and support the students. So in our model, think of different companies, EY, PayPal, Intuit, Santander, Goldman Sachs. I could go on and on. These are all entities that are part of our program. And what will occur is that people who are employed by these companies will come in as mentors and work with students on different elements of their business plan. So they might show up for a session to work on the marketing plan, or they might show up for a session to work on the financials, or to work on the pitch itself and the pitch deck. All of that had to go virtual during COVID. And one positive byproduct is that we greatly facilitated the ability of these corporate volunteers, these very good professionals who had something to teach our students not just about entrepreneurship, but about what they do. And they were able to get into classrooms much easily through the virtual methodology. So post-COVID, 5.5 years later, we are utilizing virtual volunteerism and in-person volunteerism, and we've been able to really provide mentorship at a much, much greater scale because of that.
And I think taking away just even that barrier between I'm a student and I'm at school to this is a business which I may get involved in at some point in the future, to the fact that they just suddenly then cross because I'm talking to this person, like you say, in Goldman Sachs or whatever it happens to be. And then all of a sudden there's a very linear way. I'm actually having a conversation. You're not someone from a different planet, even though you'll be obviously more mature and have that job. And I think those barriers are something which are really, really key for people to be at ease with, aren't they? Because then it's that communication, that being okay with yourself, asking the questions, and feel like you're working in a collaborative way, which is what obviously the skills that are going to be so important moving forward.
It's tremendous. And, volunteerism and mentorship in this regard is not easy. We train our volunteers and our mentors to interact with our students in the right way because they may come from backgrounds that are similar to our mission and the students we seek to serve, but they may not. And so, the most important thing is to deal with a young person in a way that really respects them and honors them and connects with them. So we do a lot of prep work with the volunteers before they go into a nifty classroom. But to your point, one of the very powerful byproducts that I've seen of the nifty model and our engagement of corporate and community volunteers is that students get an exposure to jobs and careers and sectors and possibilities for their lives that they might not ever have gotten because coming from different communities, they may not have social capital that other communities have. Those opportunities for natural exposure to those things might be limited. I'm thinking right now of a field trip that we did with some nifty students in Texas and Dallas area, where students went to the American Airlines headquarters and they got to see what a real corporate headquarters looks like. They got to meet with their mentors there. They got to go to the canteen and eat with the employees. The CEO of American Airlines stopped by and spent some quality time with the students. I'm thinking of a recent field trip that students in our West region in California did when they went to the headquarters of PayPal. Our students get these types of opportunities all the time, and I think it's very, very powerful. We want students at Nifty to become entrepreneurs, but more broadly, we want them to embrace an entrepreneurial mindset, to develop the habits of mind around communication, collaboration, self-efficacy, ability to manage risk, ability to spot opportunities, and many other things that will serve them well in their lives and their livelihoods, whether they become an employee of a corporation or a business or some external entity, or if they become an entrepreneur. And the mentorship model and how that plays out turns out to be a really important piece of that.
Yeah, you've really painted an amazing picture of it. I'd like to join and sign up because I think that there's so much benefit there. So for people that want to find out more, want to get involved, what should they do? Go to the website, follow the links. What would you suggest?
Absolutely. They should go to www.nfte.com and find out. You can find a lot of information there about where we are around the world, the different types of programs that we offer, including some very simple opportunities that are open to everybody. And I'll spotlight one now. We run a program every year called the World Series of Innovation, which is free. All Nifty programs are free. This one's free and particularly easy to access. The point of the program is to ask students, and actually the competition is open from as early as age 5 to up to age 24. So we have different tracks, one for elementary school students, one for secondary school students, one for tertiary students. The World Series of Innovation program is built around asking students to generate business ideas that are responsive to different development goals from the UN, the Strategic Development Goals, and so students will be able to respond to challenges around clean water, or extreme poverty, or climate change. or other topics that are big world topics. And we have a competition involving an online competition involving mentors who judge the submissions. You do a video submission and a short written submission, and you can win money to pursue your idea. So I'll spotlight that as a very easy opportunity for anyone around the world to get involved in Nifty because it's open to everybody, it's free to participate, and it's open to a wide variety of age groups.
Amazing. JD, thank you so much for sharing all this. I always think that the thing I love the most is it is obviously the conversations, but it's just sort of hearing the stories and the understanding behind the webpage and all of that, because I think people get a really much better understanding of the heart of an organization and what they're trying to do that way. So appreciate your time, and thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Mark. Take care.
So thank you for everybody watching. If you're watching on the replay, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the comments. We can get some answers and we can get you everything that you need. But just to remember that website again, NFTE.com, gives you all of that, take you straight to here, and then you'll have everything that you need. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back live again. I think the next live one is the 29th of April, when we're going to be talking about school inspections in primary schools. Slightly different track, but it should be very, very exciting. Thanks so much. See you again very soon. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire.